Good morning, Higher Hope. This is Wednesday, May 6th, and I just wanted to do a quick check in with you. Just looking at where we're at and just kind of walk through together this season and just to know that I care for you and I miss you. And just want to do these kind of like challenges, little devotionals, maybe little check ins. And today I just want to talk about this idea of the term worldview. Worldview is the lens through which we see everything that happens in our life and around us, and in politics, and in the social media, and in the just actresses and actors and movies. Worldview is the lens through which we see things. Now we have a lot of different lenses. Think about the colored glasses that change the view of things. You just can put different colors on it and it changes the way we see things. And so we do have a lot of lenses that we look through our world and through our experiences, through our relationships, through our personality and giftings. But I think the biggest one that we need to work hard at is making sure that we have a Christian worldview. Not, and let me just lean into that. That's not leaning into having a worldview like every other Christian. It's having a worldview like Jesus himself. There's a worldview that's in them among Christians that may be right or maybe not be right. But I don't want to measure my worldview based on what they see. I want to measure my worldview based on what Jesus sees. And so as we're walking through this virus, you can see these worldviews playing out. You can see it in the different stances people take on their view of this virus, of their view of the politics of this virus, and of how we handle it, and whether we go to church and start meeting again, or when we don't go to church and start meeting together. And so all these things play into our worldview. And what we're doing as followers of Jesus Christ is we want to develop a Christ worldview. And the only way we can really do that is to get into His Word and study it and see how He saw things. This last Sunday, I got to spend some time with our young people, and they asked some critical questions. And I was very impressed with these questions. They were tough questions. They were questions that we all ask and are struggle with, and a lot of it, what they asked, is really about worldview. How, as followers of Jesus Christ, do we see everything that's happening in our culture? And there's other sides to these questions that we need to wrestle with, and that our world needs to wrestle with. Because everyone, whether you're a Christian or not, you have a worldview. You have a lens through which you're seeing things. Does our worldview match up with truth, with reality? Does it make sense? Does the way we handle this virus make sense? Does our explanation for why the virus is happening make sense? There's a lot of inconsistencies with some worldviews, that they hang on to something, but in another section of it, they don't necessarily completely believe it or buy into it. And we can walk through that. Hopefully, maybe next week, I'll take some time and walking through various worldviews and maybe our worldview and saying how it lines up together. But I think understanding what we are walking through now through a Christian worldview is really critical, and to line ourselves up with the view of Jesus as best as we can. And also, the other part, the cool part or interesting part, is to examine it of what we're seeing, and to try to look at through different lenses of why are they saying that, and try to see their lens and the other person's lens, so that we can understand where they're coming from, so we can understand why they're saying what they're saying. And so during the season of multiple opinions, multiple thoughts, in humility, let's consider how we can have a Christ-centered worldview that lines up with the Garden of Eden all the way to Revelation 22. May we see people like He sees them. May we see the brokenness of our world like He sees it. May our heart break like His heart breaks. May we line up with Jesus. May our world, the way we see everything happening, line up with Jesus, not with our politics, and not with just our view. May we see Jesus working in this. And so hopefully we can answer some of those questions. I'd love to hear some of your questions that you have in the midst of the season that we can look at through a lens of Christ and what He's doing. But I do wholeheartedly believe that Christ's view of this is the one that fits it best and will explain why and how we walk through this. And so we'll walk through that a little more. Maybe I confused it a little bit, maybe muddied the waters, but that's okay. The important part is that we keep working on developing how Christ sees the very time that we're in.